And I'm going to have you pass them to the center, and Betsy will come and pick them all up. In the meantime, we're going to see what else our students had to say about engagement.
So I'd say student engagement is getting involved with something at least, and meeting some people and broadening your horizons and just doing something you normally wouldn't do.
When I hear student engagement, I just think of students who participate in an activity that helps them, and when they go to class, they should listen to the material that's offered and integrate it within their own life instead of just listening to it and memorizing it for a test and then just forgetting it days later.
For student engagement, I see it as getting the student involved in what you're doing. Because evidently you're teaching it, you understand it, this is something you have a passion for. Many of us might not have the same passion for it. It's a way of getting us involved.
But if they're passionate and you can see the light in their eyes that they actually want to engage you into what they're talking about, then it sheds a whole new light on the information as well as the teacher, because then you're more open to go talk to them and you want to actually get their feedback instead of saying, okay, well, I'm done with this class, I'm going home, you know. Yeah.
Now, do you feel that your students are integrating the content into their lives? One of the things that was said over here is that in order to get my students to read, I make the information be more relevant. And so that is one way that you can get them. What happened to my projector? Okay. That's one way that you can get them involved. Also, another way you can get them involved is with timely feedback, getting back to them in time.
Just continue, please.
Okay. All right, and some of the ways that you were telling me that you engage your students is with targeted questioning techniques. Read their texts and relate it to themselves. That's a critical way to get your students integrated and involved with you. I'm going to ask G.W. Thompson to explain for us the way that you engage your students.
Well, I teach a career planning class, and it's only a one credit course. But students in that class are exploratory, they're undecided about their majors. So one of the things we do is, we decided to do, is take a competitive approach. Students like to compete against each other. So we have an exercise where students have to identify a famous personality, like Michelangelo, Da Vinci, E.F. Hutton. And one of the things that a lot of students don't know some of the people. So one of the things I've done is I have a sheet where where it explains who these people are, and then they have to identify John Holland's personality profile with that particular person.
Okay.
So I put them in groups, and then they use the theory behind John Holland's profile, and whichever group gets the most personalities correct, they get points towards their midterm or whatever.
Okay.
So again, they like to compete against each other, and they really get involved in it.
All right, thank you. And Morgan Morrison, you also use groups.
I do an academic success class, and one of the first couple of things we do in the first few weeks is learning styles. So I get them to group up according to their learning style and have them work together to talk about what works or what doesn't work with them, study for the way that they learn best, and then explain it to the rest of the group.
Okay. Andrea? Andrea is also using groups, but in a different way. She's right in front of you.
I teach freshman composition and research writing. And so I take PowerPoints and I take paragraphs from the various students' papers and project them, and I have them in groups, and then I either have the groups write two things that are writing strengths about that example and two things that need improvement. Or sometimes I'll just have them, after they've done that a couple of times with the writing, then they're more willing to stand up and speak within the groups, that kind of thing as well.
And Mike Seiler, right in front of Andrea.
I've attended a lot of the seminars. I'm trying to get some technology in there. Kicking and screaming the whole way. I'm older than I look. So it has been a battle for me. But basically what I've been doing is I've been trying to find some comedy-based things. I teach real estate. So I'll download a 1.5-minute video of The Simpsons, and it'll start off with something like how they handle open houses. So you'll see someone making cookies, and the smell of cookies comes in the room, and Bart says, "Mom, why do I smell cookies?" And she says, "Oh, well, yeah, they're trying to sell the house across the street." And he says, "Well, what moron's going to buy a house because of the smell of cookies?" And you see Homer Simpson come in. He says, "Oh, I'm going to sign escrow, waive all the fees." So it's just kind of good. They know what that is. And it's just a way to get them laughing and get them going, and it starts a conversation.
And definitely something they can relate to. Midway through, Chris Nickel.
I actually teach mostly faculty development courses at another university in this area. And a lot of what I'm doing is synchronous if we use Room a lot of classrooms. So I don't want it to be completely lecture. It would bore the pants off of everybody. So I'll introduce a topic, but then I ask questions. It's mostly faculty that I'm talking to, so I ask questions. Okay, so how have you done this in your class? Has it worked? Has it not worked? Can you give me an example?
All right, so engaging through questioning techniques. I just want to mention that if you've noticed through this morning so far, and I think we've only been working this way for maybe 20 minutes, you've seen me demonstrate the fact that I do ask you questions to engage you, but you see how the wait time is sometimes gets uncomfortable? What I find with faculty in the classroom is that you get uncomfortable with that empty space and you feel you have to fill it. And what you have to do is to turn that responsibility around to the students. And if you make the students feel uncomfortable with that wait time, they will begin to talk. What I say to my students when I'm asking them what they thought of the reading that they were supposed to do, or I'm asking them for some information from the reading, I am just quiet. And eventually they feel responsible. Because I am not going to say, oh, well, the reading last night contained these important points, because I am then taking over again. So this is a little bit of a paradigm change for faculty, because initially faculty is the font of knowledge. We are the ones who have all of the answers. But that's not the way it's going to be working in the classroom. So I just want to let you know, I give you absolution for the pain that you feel during that empty time. And let the students eventually chime in. What I say to my students, I'm not going to give you the answer. I know the answer. They need to come up with what was in that reading, what the key points were. And the more you do that, the more they will become prepared. It is uncomfortable for them as well. The other thing is that if I have a large class like this, and I take questions from you with your names on the other side, whether I know you or not, I can call on you because I have your cards in here, I have your name. So these are just two low, or actually no tech strategies that you can use to engage your students. We're hoping that you'll get more strategies just like this through the rest of the conference.
Terrific opportunity that we had last semester, in the fall semester I'm talking about, is the Obama visit. And I remember, I think I was sitting at my desk reading an email saying that he was coming, and I immediately got on the telephone to the Credeeds campaign to say, I need 16 tickets for my students. Well, we sort of went around and around in the days that followed, and by Sunday I had a commitment that my students would indeed get tickets to get into the event on Tuesday afternoon, and indeed they did. And of course, they were absolutely thrilled to have the tickets and to be able to walk in, and it was marvelous. Their assignment was to go to the speech, take notes, cover it in exactly the way they would cover a news event, and come back. And we worked in a lab, one of the computer labs on the first floor of BAL, and we came back and met in the lab, and their assignment was to write a news story for tomorrow's paper. And I remember that day so well because they were just all bubbling over when they got back from the event and exchanging notes about, oh, did you see this, did you see that, and oh gosh, wasn't it great. And finally I said, listen, you don't have time for chitter chatter, you have a deadline, 7:30, I want a story. And the following week I realized that the university had both the audio and video of the president's speech. And so with that, with access to that, I was able to use the audio and have the students do a podcast first, and then I had them do a kind of broadcast, webcast story using the video and doing lead-ins and lead-outs and essentially doing a video version of that story. And so it was really fascinating because they had a chance to take one story and produce it in 3 different ways and understand the various demands of each platform. And so I really encourage everybody to run with it, mostly because I think, too, just knowing the rudiments is enough. In some ways, I think students actually liked, at least in one area, knowing a little bit more than the teacher.